Imagine the roar of thousands of engines idling in a suffocating crawl across the Sydney Harbour Bridge. The air is thick with exhaust fumes and the collective, low-frequency anxiety of the morning rush hour. This is the urban grind personified, a relentless cycle of grey concrete, overpriced coffee, and the constant ticking of a clock that never provides enough time. For decades, this was the accepted price of success. If you wanted the highest salary career and the prestigious title, you had to endure the density and the debt of living in the shadow of southern skyscrapers. But now, shift your focus north. Imagine the silence of a sunrise over Noosa main beach, where the only sound is the rhythmic pulse of the Pacific Ocean washing against pristine white sand. There are no sirens here, no frantic honking. Instead, there's the cry of a sea eagle circling overhead and the soft hiss of salt foam on the shore. This contrast is no longer just a holiday daydream, it has become the blueprint for a revolutionary demographic shift across Australia. We are witnessing the rise of the equity refugee, a professional who has realized that geographic walls have crumbled. At the heart of this movement is Coastal Arbitrage. It is a life-changing financial maneuver where residents of Sydney and Melbourne leverage their hyperinflated property values to escape the urban pressure cooker. For years, these homeowners watched as the market turned modest dwellings into multi-million-dollar assets. Now, they are cashing in their chips. By selling a cramped bungalow in an inner west suburb, they aren't just moving house. They are fundamentally rewriting their financial destiny and reclaiming their freedom. They are trading square footage in a congested city for a lifestyle that was once reserved for the elite. This shift wasn't always a viable option. Before the pandemic, living in a tropical paradise while maintaining a career was a luxury for the retired. However, the Great Relocation changed the rules. The physical tether to the central business district was severed, replaced by the powerful digital threads of the NBIS and Starlink. High-speed internet and flexible work policies transformed the professional landscape. Suddenly, the boardroom could be a deck overlooking the Coral Sea, and the morning commute could be a barefoot stroll through the dunes. The necessity of physical proximity to an office building vanished, replaced by independence. The mathematics of this arbitrage are compelling. Consider the reality of a median-priced home in a prestigious Melbourne suburb, often valued at $2 million. In the old world, that capital bought a slice of history and a 30-minute drive to a cubicle. In the world of coastal arbitrage, that same capital buys a sprawling architectural masterpiece on the Queensland coast, complete with an infinity pool and panoramic ocean views. Even after purchasing a luxury estate, these refugees often find themselves with a massive financial surplus, a significant investment portfolio that ensures long-term security. But the motivation isn't purely financial. There is a profound psychological shift, a transition from a culture of hustle to one of intentional lifestyle design. Australians are refusing to trade 10 precious hours of their week to the misery of gridlock traffic. They are prioritizing health, family, and well-being over traditional status symbols of the urban landscape. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. This new priority has turned the classic sea change from a distant retirement goal into an immediate professional requirement. This invisible migration is backed by staggering data. Every year, thousands of residents head north, leaving a demographic vacuum in southern capitals. From the prestige of Noosa's Hastings Street and the bohemian luxury of Byron Bay's Silicon Coast to the untapped tropical frontiers of the Whitsundays at Airlie Beach, the map of wealth is being redrawn. We will explore how these locations define the shift. Noosa stands as the undisputed gold standard of this northern coastal migration, representing the pinnacle of what the equity refugee seeks. Once a sleepy sanctuary for longboarders and sunseekers, it has undergone a sophisticated metamorphosis into the Hamptons of the Southern Hemisphere. This transformation was forged through restrictive laws that preserved its soul, while driving property values into the stratosphere. On Hastings Street, the air smells of expensive sea salt perfume and high-end espresso. Here, the urban grind is replaced by a curated environment where the bush meets the beach without high-rise shadows. The exclusivity of Noosa isn't just about wealth. It's about a scarcity of land that ensures every square inch of real estate remains a blue-chip asset. For those selling Sydney terraces, Noosa offers global prestige while maintaining quintessentially Australian relaxed elegance. Further down the coast, Byron Bay tells a different story of evolution, one dominated by the influencer effect. What was once a gritty, bohemian enclave for those living on the fringes of society has become the epicenter of the Silicon Coast. The migration of high-profile celebrities, most notably the Hemsworth brothers, acted as a cultural catalyst that redefined the region's brand. This star-studded endorsement turned a hippie town into a premier global real estate market. Today, tech moguls and digital marketing giants rub shoulders with yoga instructors in a delicate, tense balance. The global influencer has brought a new kind of capital to Byron, one that values artisanal aesthetics and high-speed connectivity as much as a good surf break. However, this influx has created a palpable friction between the old Byron spirit of communal simplicity and the new, high-gloss reality of luxury boutiques and five-star wellness retreats. As Noosa and Byron approach their saturation points, the gaze of the equity refugee is shifting even further north toward the tropical frontier of Airlie Beach. Nestled at the gateway to the Whitsundays, Airlie Beach represents the next logical step in the arbitrage journey. For many, it offers a more accessible entry point compared to the astronomical prices of the southern coasts, but with an unmatched natural backdrop. The allure of the Great Barrier Reef and the burgeoning luxury marina culture are turning this former backpacker hub into a sophisticated maritime destination. The digital nomad finds here a life where the workday might end with a sunset sail through turquoise waters. It is a region on the precipice of a major boom, fueled by a desire for even more space and adventure, without sacrificing professional ties to southern hubs. Facilitating this movement is an infrastructure boom that is quietly rewiring regional Australia. Small coastal airports that once handled only a few weekend flights are now bustling hubs connecting professionals to Sydney and Melbourne in a matter of hours. Co-working spaces, designed with the aesthetic of high-end lounges, are appearing in renovated storefronts, providing the professional infrastructure the equity refugee needs to thrive. The technological backbone of this shift is invisible but vital. The NBN and Starlink have rendered the concept of a remote location obsolete. A stockbroker in the Whitsundays can now execute trades with the same latency as their counterparts on Wall Street or in the Sydney CBD. This northern exodus carries a heavy social cost, revealing a darker side to the paradise dream. The rise of the priced-out local is a stark reminder of the unintended consequences of coastal arbitrage. As equity-rich newcomers bid up the prices of modest homes, long-term residents, the teachers, nurses, and hospitality workers who give these towns their pulse, are being forced to the margins. In towns once celebrated for their egalitarian spirit, the lack of affordable rental stock has led to the emergence of tent cities and makeshift camps. This displacement creates a hollowed-out community where services struggle to survive beneath the weight of prestige. Despite these tensions, the economic landscape is diversifying beyond tourism. Professionals bring their businesses, creating local tech hubs where the boardroom view is incomparable. The Whitsundays are transforming into a vibrant, dynamic frontier. This shift transforms Australia. The transition from the urban grind to coastal luxury is not always the seamless dream depicted in glossy real estate brochures. For many an equity refugee, the initial honeymoon phase eventually gives way to what sociologists call the vacation paradox. It is a subtle but persistent psychological trap where the lines between leisure and labor blur into an indistinguishable haze. Imagine sitting in a home office with a panoramic view of the Coral Sea, trying to focus on a complex financial spreadsheet while the rhythmic, hypnotic sound of the surf calls to you like a siren. The professional discipline required to maintain a high-flying career in a surf town environment is immense and often underestimated. When every physical cue in your surroundings signals that it is time to relax, the brain naturally resists the high-pressure demands of the corporate world. The digital nomad often finds that the very beauty they sought becomes a source of constant distraction, leading to a strange, modern form of burnout where the guilt of working competes daily with the guilt of not enjoying the paradise they sacrificed so much to reach. Beyond the personal struggle of the individual, there is a broader cultural shift occurring that threatens the very essence of these coastal havens. We are currently witnessing the rapid homogenisation of the coast, a process where unique local identities are slowly erased by the sheer volume of arriving urban capital. As more people flee the southern capitals, they inadvertently bring the city with them, packed in the shipping containers alongside their designer furniture. High-end minimalist cafes, sleek boutiques, and overpriced artisanal bakeries are replacing the quirky, weathered establishments that once defined these towns. The local hardware store becomes a luxury art gallery, and the humble family-run diner is replaced by a brunch spot serving $20 avocado toast to people in activewear. This Sydney light aesthetic creates a comfortable familiarity for the newcomer, but leaves the original spirit of the place hollowed out and unrecognizable to those who knew it before. The charm of Noosa or Byron Bay was once found in their distinct difference from the city. Now, they risk becoming mere sanitized extensions of the urban sprawl they were meant to replace. As these premier locations reach their absolute capacity and property prices climb beyond the reach of even the wealthy, the smart money is already looking for the next great arbitrage hub. The cycle of migration continues to move further afield, seeking the next undiscovered gem before the crowds arrive. Regions like Yeppen, with its laid-back tropical vibe, the historic charm of Port Douglas, and the rugged, untouched beauty of the Sapphire Coast in southern New South Wales are beginning to see the first ripples of this new wave. These areas offer the same promise of space and lifestyle at a fraction of the cost of a Byron Bay mortgage. However, with this knowledge comes a newfound responsibility for sustainable migration. To avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, the modern refugee must learn to be an active participant in the community rather than just a lifestyle extractor. True integration means supporting local schools, hiring local trades, and advocating for affordable housing initiatives that protect the priced out local. It is about building a life that gives back to the community as much as it takes from the scenery. This massive demographic shift forces us to ask a fundamental question about our national identity and the future of the continent. For decades, the Australian dream was defined by the quarter-acre block in a quiet suburb, a stable job within commuting distance of the city centre, and a predictable, linear path to retirement. That dream has permanently and irreversibly shifted toward the coastline. The priority for the modern worker is no longer just about owning a piece of land. It is about owning your time and controlling your environment. The rise of coastal arbitrage proves that for a significant portion of the population, the pulse of the city is no longer the heartbeat of success. Geographic independence has become the ultimate status symbol, more valuable than any corner office or citywide reputation. Success is now measured by the proximity to the water and the ability to close a laptop before the sun hits the horizon. If you could take your current salary to any beach in the world, would you leave tomorrow? Is the convenience and frenetic energy of the urban core something you can truly live without? Or is the pull of the ocean an evolutionary drive that money simply cannot replace? As the sun sets over the calm, turquoise waters of the Coral Sea, casting a deep golden glow over a landscape no longer tethered to the traditional 9-to-5 era, the answer becomes clear for thousands of Australians every year. The transition is complete, the trade has been made, and a new life begins. The city is now a distant memory, and the horizon is the only future that matters. The era of the coastal arbitrage has not just changed where we live, it has changed how we define the very meaning of a life well lived. In this new frontier, the greatest luxury isn't what you own,